Europe.
You know what the thing is? And I told you in the car, I want you to have an episode in this podcast just dedicated to the EU and our continent, because I have so many things to say, and I'm sure you have too.
Yeah.
I hate the EU as an economic union. It destroys countries. It destroyed my country. It's going to destroy yours.
Yeah.
Thank God you haven't joined the Eurozone.
Oh.
And I have so many things to say about the Eurozone. And again, I'm not trying to be honestly disrespectful to the Germans. The euro as a currency was created so that Germany can prosper.
Yeah.
Because Germany has suffered from inflation. And by having a European Central Bank, Germany have control of inflation all over Europe. And Germany can basically, because Germany is the biggest industry in Europe.
Yeah.
So what they do is, by having a common currency, they can put away all the industries in Sweden, Greece, Italy, Norway, and they can promote their own.
Yeah, and they can put fucking sanctions.
Yes, but as a society, as a philosophic thought, I believe, and you will agree with me, in the more prosperous years of Europe, there was a sense of unity that we're one people now.
Yeah. It definitely
excluded from the world, because if you really think about it, the European nations as nations are tiny for the world, so we have this sense of unity. We're together, Germans, Greek, Italians, even the fucking what have you, the Eastern Europeans. We're part of one nation, and I really wanted. It's really hard when you have so many languages and so many cultures, but I think that with the help of the internet and this abundance of information and communication, we would become a single nation in mind and heart.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
If that happened.
If we survive this crisis, we will be.
Yeah, but what needs to happen is that the European Union needs to look at the Pan-American Union. The US is in a union with the entirety of the American continent, but you never hear of it. You know why? Because it's non-intrusive. It respects each fucking member state. The only thing that is making it easier to trade. There is no, superior.
The Pan-American Union is only a trade union. It's not a cultural union. The American nations don't live as close to each other. They don't roam America as freely as the Greeks and the Swedish and the Germans roam the continent. We have open borders for all Europeans. I can move to Sweden without having anything.
Yeah.
Just an ID, and you can do the same. We can move anywhere, and this is the beauty of Europe. And this was developed at times of European prosperity, when people didn't think that, now we're gonna have a bunch of Greeks living in fucking Sweden. Fuck that shit. And that was the beauty, and having this circus of cultures was beautiful. But we also have this, like you said, intrusive politician,
that is
type
in Brussels.
That is in Brussels, yeah.
And they're completely centralized, and they're trying to implement fucking, changes in every country's constitution. The fucking Lisbon.
I agree with the changes.
Yeah, but the Lisbon thing, we have handed the right to fucking exit the European Union without consequences. We have handed that right away by the Lisbon. What do you call it? The Lisbon.
The Lisbon Treaty. Yeah,
the Lisbon Treaty. We have that as a part of our constitution in Sweden now, which is fucking bonkers. I mean, to implement something that comes from Brussels, from people that have their own interest, as a part of the constitution for a country that
that's really interesting that you say that. And let's use, because you use the example of the Pan-American Union. It's a bad example for me. You can use the United States as a union, because if you look at it, maybe they don't have as cultural diversity as we do, but they are a union. They are a union of states, not as much as we do.
Yeah, not as much, but they do have a very wide variety. I mean, you have the Bible Belt, you have the South, you have Texas.
I agree.
And California in itself is basically its own fucking nation. If you look at the mentality of Californians.
Yeah, I definitely agree, yeah.
Every Californian that you meet abroad, they won't tell you, I'm American. They will say that I'm Californian.
Yeah.
Because there's a sense of pride in being from California for them.
Usually you're more, progressive, open-minded, more aware of the world than maybe people in Kansas or, fucking hillbillies.
But I have to say, there is something about the hillbilly redneck lifestyle that just seems so fucking awesome. Because they're like, we need to take care of what we need to take care of. Everything outside of that is fucking optional. If I want to get a fucking rocket launcher, I'll get a fucking rocket launcher, and I will blast my cows with them.
If I want to fuck my cousin, I'm gonna fuck my cousin. You know what I mean? If I want to lose my virginity to a sheep, I'm gonna do that too. Yeah. No, dude. Listen.
This is something liberating about their way of thinking.
It's not liberating. You feel. Have you been to a circus?
Yes.
To a fair?
Yes.
You know, when you were a kid, you feel this, joy. It's like being in a circus. The Midwest of the United States is being in a circus.
Yeah, but at the same time, I have to say that there is something about that I want to experience. Perhaps not permanently.
The Bible stuff you want to experience? People trying to tell you, that you cannot eat meatballs because Jesus hated the Romans.
No, fuck that. What I want to experience is this, fucking cage encounter, in the fucking swamps. Get out to the fucking swamps. You have alligators everywhere. They hand you a fucking gun. Here, have a shotgun. Like, what the fuck do I need that for? Alligator. And then, fucking strangers come into the properties. This is all based on films, I've never been to hillbilly counties. But I sort of want to experience that sense of fucking you against nature and the rest of the fucking world. It's sort of like, we have no friends. The friends that we have is like-minded. And we all love to shoot shit. So let's get together and blow some shit up.
Dude, you know what the thing is? That with the Midwest, it's so underdeveloped, and unfortunately, those people get to vote too. And oftentimes, a good example is Bush. They voted for the right motherfucker, and the right motherfucker went on, a killing spree in the fucking Middle East, and kill a bunch of people,
Bush is a very, very strange example of everything. He's
a cunt. The guy is a cunt. He's always been useless. He has bankrupted oil companies. It's fucking impossible to bankrupt an oil company.
That is fucking impressive.
It's like saying, I'm gonna give you a fucking a blank check. I'm gonna give you a credit card with no limit, and you're gonna find a way to find the limit. You know what I mean? It's fucking impossible.
You have to give him credit for finding that limit.
He's a known alcoholic. You can see from his behavior that he's a very dishonest person, and you can see that he's a very uneducated person, even though he went to Harvard he went to, I think. He's a stupid cunt, and he's a bad example of an American, and I feel sorry for the American people, because for 8 years, Bush was the example of the typical American that Europeans have in mind, and it's unfair for most Americans, because most Americans are good people with good intentions, with decent education. Some of you are fucking cunts, I have to agree. They don't know shit about shit. But most of you are good people. You know what? Back home in Europe, we have less of the extremes. Yeah. We have fucking cunts in Greece and Sweden, but they're less of a cunt, It's a cunt who knows a second language, who know where, London is. You know Definitely. What I mean? It's a different kind of cunt.
Yeah, but at the same time, you know what Bush is doing now? He's sitting at his fucking ranch in Texas, and he paints portrait pictures of his dog. Look at what Bill Clinton is doing. He's involved in humanitarian projects. All of the other presidents...
He's banging secretaries right now.
Definitely. What
was her name?
Monica Lewinsky.
Yeah, there you go.
I did not have sexual relations with
that
woman.
I just busted 3 nuts in her face. That's not a sexual relation?
Absolutely not.
Had you seen Hillary, you would be cheating on her too. Come on.
I would. I know that I would.
Me too.
I really hope that she won't be running for president for the Democratic side, because she's a corporate shill. She claims to be against certain things, it's against the bankers fucking taking advantage.
Yeah.
She's paid by the Citigroup. Citigroup is one of her main fucking sponsors.
Listen, everybody, even Obama was paid by all those huge banks. Everybody except Bernie Sanders.
And Donald Trump.
And
Donald Trump has paid for his own shit.
He's a fucking billionaire, and nobody wants to pay for his shit. That's why he paid for his own shit.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't agree with...
Listen,
most of the things that Donald Trump says, but I have to respect him, because he said, I want to run for president. He funded his own campaign. He can say whatever the fuck he wants.
You're not aware of what Donald Trump and his family have done to the state of New York. Me, knowing people, my own countrymen there, he has ruined the construction industry of New York. Before the Trumps came to New York, because they're real estate. They start as real estate, businessmen. Those huge bins that you rent when you're building something. You have to dispose stuff, and you have to dispose it in
I've read about this. It was thousands of dollars.
Thousands. In California, you can rent it for $200 a day.
Yeah.
Back there, 2,000. You know why? Because he went ahead and rented every single, waste management company that there was.
And then he fucking faced them out of business.
Exactly, and people lost their jobs. And the beauty of America is that you are allowed by law to do that. In Greece and in Sweden, you will have socialist governments running after you, trying to. So, to be honest, I would have done the same if I was Trump, but people just have to know who they're voting for.
Definitely, and that is something. I'm toying with an idea. It's a thought experiment, basically. But I want it to be implemented in all countries around the world, that if you're supposed to vote, you need to know the ideological perspective of each and every party and each of every person running for prime minister, running for president.
And the Swedish people are really good in that manner.
I wouldn't say that, not anymore.
Not maybe our generation, but the older people are more aware of how politics work in Sweden, and they're much more. They contribute, to life in politics.
They used to, but now they're voting out of tradition. The Social Democrat government that is there right now, they are running Sweden just into the ground.
I know they fell once, right? They got elected, they fell. Like they had re-elections. How come?
They didn't have re-elections. Basically, what happened last election? It was last year. It was. Everyone wanted a paradigm change from the bourgeois government that was ran by Fredrik Reinfeldt. He messed up certain things. He also did loads of good stuff.
And Reinfeldt was to the right, for people who don't know, right? He was a right wing.
He's a right wing.
Supposedly, yeah.
The right in Sweden is liberalism. Sweden is so left wing. Shit, the wind is
fucking up, yeah.
Yeah, let's just see here. Let's just await this. We're actually soon on 1.5 hours.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that was quick.
Yeah, it's fucking brilliant. But basically, in Sweden, everything is skewed to the point that liberalism is considered to be one step away from neo-Nazism. And it's sort of like, what the fuck are you talking about? Liberals are fucking left, you cunts! And the fucking Sweden Democrats, the racist party,
they are not racist at all.
No, they're socially
conservative. And if I want to tell this because we deviated from our original topic of discussion. I want to say a few things about Sweden. The far right in Sweden is a left in every other country.
I know.
In every other country. Maybe not Greece and Italy and Spain and all those fucking communist, neo-communist European countries, but
in every other country. Even the Sweden Democrats are considered to be, like socialists. They're socially conservative. They're running the same sort of politics. You know who Olof Palme was?
Who doesn't know Olof Palme?
Exactly.
I mean,
they're basically wanting to implement the same sort of policies that he did. And those are called the neo-fascistic party of Sweden. And it's sort of like, you gotta be fucking shitting me.
I think, yeah.
It's just such an illiteracy amongst ideologies.
Olof Palme was a unique individual, man.
He was.
He was an amazing person. Even if you don't agree with his view of how the economy and society should function, he was an amazing individual in a time where America was the only superpower in the West.
Mm-hmm.
Countries like my and yours, small countries, who can't really implement their own will to the world. They had to settle for what was dictated to them by Western countries, mostly America. But Olof Palme was the guy who, with a huge pair of balls, who said, you know what? Maybe you should leave Vietnam alone. Maybe you should take it easy with Cuba.
Yeah.
Calm down. And that's why he died. The guy had balls and.
Yeah, he was definitely killed off because of the
I think
policies.
Sweden. Yeah, I think Sweden would be a different place than it is now. Sweden is often advertised as paradise.
It is not.
It is not a paradise. It's a great place. If you're like me, if you're like my family, who we had no hope in this world in Greece, even when Greece was prosperous, we were low class, we were shit. Sweden was the place that we could make something of ourselves, and I'm thankful for that. But right now, I don't think Sweden is a good place for young people who want to do something with their lives.
Definitely not. Sweden is a very good place if you value, getting low
stability, stability, security,
and non-risk taking. I mean, I was trying to, get to do monologues at different.
Being conservative in itself is a big risk taking.
Yeah.
Because as Europe develops in many social and economic ways, Sweden is falling back. and not being able to adapt to the change